I cast you the big picture. I'm gonna let Shannon Farrell come up and tell you. I asked her to tell you her credentials because she's got so many of them that she's gonna do a better job of telling them to you. And so excited that she is willing. She's left her job. She stepped out in faith, and she will be the director of the greenhouse and be able to get us started in the right direction with some trauma-informed care and some great things that she understands deeply and all the data processing that comes with this job. So, Shannon, come, you share all the details. I got to do the big picture.
Thanks, Jane. Okay, well, let's talk about the details, because I love the details. Before we do that, Jeanette's gonna pull up my slides, and yes, I am dressed to the nines, so I'm gonna take off my shoes because I don't want to trip. I'm wearing flip-flops because that's what you do when you go to the lake, but typically you take them off, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be barefoot. All right, so we're gonna talk about the greenhouse and what it's gonna look like, what it means, and the details of that. Before we begin, I need everybody to get your wiggles out, right? Because that's what I'm coming from. I'm a teacher, and so by nature, I'm going to continue being a teacher. And I know that you've been sitting for a while, and so I just actually need you to stand up for a second because I need you to get your juices flowing. I need you to have that blood up to your brain, so you're going to stretch your arms. Oh, yes, that feels really good, very good. Nice and wide. Look to your right, look to your left, very good. Okay, that's it, you can have a seat, that's all. Thank you so much for just engaging with me. So really what I want you to do right now is make a fist. Everybody make a fist? Okay, and I want that fist to be as tight as it can possibly be, and I want someone at your table to try and open your fist. You're gonna take turns, right? So like, you and your neighbor are going to try to open your fist. And what I mean by that, and Jeanette, you can be my partner. She's going to try to open my fist, and I'm going to try to open her fist, okay? So, like, I'm trying to open her hand right now, and it's really hard. Do you see what I'm saying? And then she's going to try to open mine. I just want you to take a minute to try to see what that's like, okay? Go for it. Oh, stop it. All right, you can go to the next slide.
Can you just...
Yeah. All right, so I just need one person to tell me what was that like? Yes, what was that like?
Well, it's like if your hand is closed tight, nothing goes in and nothing comes out. So you can't share anything and they can't share anything with you because your fist is tight.
Precisely, yes. And would everyone agree with that? Yes. That's about what it felt like, and physically and emotionally, okay? So let's talk about the monkey's fist. Angela Harris, where are you? There she is in the back taking wonderful pictures and videoing us. She had us make these at one of our retreats. We had, I can't remember what our theme was, but it was like anchored or something. And it's called a monkey's fist, and that's our knot. I don't know if you can see it. But often this is used as a weight to heavy a line for sailors. It's an anchor for a rock climber. It's used as like a safety net, right? But the legend is that hunters in Africa and Asia were playing to the monkey's inability to let go of what it wanted. So the idea is, and I'm giving you the line before we get to the point, don't be caught up by what you're holding on to. So to trap the monkey, the tribesmen or the hunters would place a piece of food in a jar or actually like a hollowed out coconut. Okay, so they would put this piece of food inside of the jar or the coconut, and then the opening was large enough for the monkey to reach in with an unclenched hand. So they're like this. But of course, as soon as they get that food, when the monkey closes its fist, it's too large to pull out of the container. So while trying to get its fist out and not let go of the food, that's when the hunters are going to swoop in. So of course, the fate of the monkey is all dependent on the choice to hold on to something it wanted. And that is pretty much what our transition house is about. It's about identifying what these women are clinging to in their life, and it's a relationship. Like if it's a habit, a false belief that is like a crutch that's preventing them from growing or flourishing. And so I kind of want you to think about that and visualize it. But the idea is that they're so focused on getting to the next step or the next thing on their list that they keep failing. And they don't know why. So sometimes keeping a tight grasp on ideas and things and beliefs and people that don't support a healthy lifestyle is going to keep them in that cyclical trap of bad habits. And we do the same thing, right? Like, what would happen if we stepped back and looked at our life long enough? What or who would we let go of? And what part of our lives would we get back? So how would we be able to use that time and that energy and that talent to honor God? There's a Latin term, and it's called in nodo. And I love this word. It's one of my favorite words. And it's down there underneath the monkey fist knot. And I want you to kind of, it's a hard word sometimes because it's a weird one, but I want you to try to say it with me, okay? So it's in nodo. Can you say it? Nodo, yes, in nodo. All right, I want you to whisper it to your neighbor. I want you to say it to the ceiling. I want you to say it to the floor. All right, if you say it 3 times, typically you can remember it, or at least your brain can. And nodo literally means I untangle. And now I know it's so beautiful, I could just cry. And it means unknot. So that is what we want to see.
Amen.
And that's what we're going to do. Okay, next slide. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm not going to cry. So who is the struggling woman? What do they share? They share a pattern of unhealthy, self-destructive behaviors. Literally, they have an institutionalized mindset. And what does that mean? That is like this slow death syndrome, okay? That is what the term is called. It's a social, academic, physical, mental delay that can impede their independent living. And that's because they have a cyclical placement in institutions or therapeutic purposes. This creates fear, and multi-generational abuse is another reason why they are in there. They have addictions because those things are highly heritable disorders. Addictions can be anywhere from 39% to 72% heritable. So in other words, if your mother had an addiction, you will most likely have one too. We know this. And that's called multi-generational abuse. So these women in the home, they share these patterns. And that's the one thing that they have in common. You can go to the next slide. All right, so what's the cost of mental distress right now in women? Turn to your neighbor, and I want you to kind of talk about what your idea is. What do you think mental distress is? Like, in your mind, what does that term mean to you? What do you think the definition is? Go ahead and talk to your table really quick about what that means. Okay, touch your nose if you can hear me. Touch your ear if you can hear me. Touch your head if you can hear me. And tell me what you think mental distress is. Not a definition or just a thought. This table, what'd you come up with? Shout it out. I'm going to call on you if you don't tell me. Jane, what do you think mental distress is?
Fear.
Okay. Trudy, what do you think mental distress is?
I think it can come, it has a lot of different things. And I think that all women have some type of mental distress, whether it be the working mom who's struggling, trying to get her kids ready and everything, out the door, or whether it be a retired person that's like, okay, now what do you want me to do?
Right.
So, I mean, it has a lot. I don't think there's one certain thing.
Yes.
One element.
It is a big word. Sherilyn, what do you think mental distress is?
I think it's an overwhelming, paralyzing feeling that women get and don't know what to do with.
Yes. Betty.
Well, we talked about fear. Well, I talked about fear. I didn't give them a chance.
Worry. So, yes, worry. All right, Luann, at your table.
We talked about anxiety.
Okay, yeah, next slide. So, mental distress, there's been a 32% increase in women between the ages of 18 and 44 in the last 4 years. It's a major public health problem. Mental distress, literally the definition is anxiety, depression, and somatic problems. Somatic problems are sleeping problems, fatigue, and headache. So anything that you feel. Sometimes we call them abdominal migraines, where you physically feel ill. And that is what mental distress is. And it's on the rise, and it is considered a public health problem, specifically in women. Next slide. And so inside the greenhouse, when these women come in, they've got all this stuff going on. They've got the mental distress. They've got this shared multi-generational abuse patterns. They've got institutionalized, and then they've got the fear. They've got all this going on. And so what do? We provide care and counseling through help, education, and behavior. And what this means is that we'll be providing tutoring. We'll be providing, if needed, we provide anything they need in the house will be on site. We'll be providing counseling, behavioral counseling, so trauma-informed care. And all of this will be designed to heal emotionally, spiritually, physically, and social-emotionally. We'll also be employing financial independence and job training skills. So Jobs for Life program will be happening inside. All these things are going to kind of be working together on site within the house. And so when Jane talks about having volunteers and signing up for things, these are the things that will come to fruition within the home. And we'll talk more about the details of that. Next slide. Okay, so a nourished woman is a changed woman, right? She has hope. She has all these resources to heal. Really, she's able to identify the triggers. And so when she's able to identify her triggers, she's developing and maintaining a relapse prevention plan, and therefore she's able to contribute to society. So who's going to do that? Well, that's us. So we need volunteers, we need trained counselors, we need educational specialists, and we're going to partner with organizations to educate, equip, and empower. And there's a lot of words. So next slide. Okay. So we know that truth transforms lives. Most of the women that we will serve have experienced sexual abuse between the ages of 7 and 11, and they've used alcohol or drugs by the age of 13. That's just a statistic that we come from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. But the traumatic childhood experiences, often compounded by poverty, give way to homelessness, addiction, further abuse, and/or incarceration. So that being said, I need you for just a minute to talk. I don't know if you filled out your cards at your table about your why. If you didn't, that's okay. But we do want to know why you're here. So talk with your table about why you came today. Tell them what motivated you to be here for 2 hours. What is your why? Why are you here? I'm going to give you 2 minutes.
Yeah. I missed that the first time. Last time I didn't know what she said. Well, you have an education background.
I keep losing you. Sorry.
I don't know if I'm in the way. Bible study with this area.
Which would you rather do?
Yeah, I was hoping you wouldn't say that, Marshall. If you were chairman of the board,
That's how when you were on the board.
that's because she is a great chairman of the board.
I don't know but because I believe in how ministries impacted my life in the heart of heart and the change groups, and because this is where I see. I've always wanted to be like this. This is where I see Grace working. As a retired person, I don't have that many good years left. I want to use those years to join God's work.
Because I just see the need, and especially for women.
Yes.
And I know this ministry has been so thankful for years, and it's a great chance to, as you say, volunteer and to find a
You heard my why and the excitement, that we have to move. This is, it's really kind of crazy because I didn't start out this way. When I was in Hartford, I thought for years and years and years my audience was church women. And now I know that my true audience is broken women, which includes church women, because I believe we're all broken. But as you've heard, you know that this is a special piece of time who are hurting and need help. And that, you know, through prison, I think that really opens the needs of women that we don't even know about. They're not all like you and I.
Okay, 10 more seconds. I'm sorry.
See, we have somebody who is energetic that can do this.
Okay, time's up. Sorry. Yeah, we gotta roll. We gotta rock and roll. We gotta roll. Okay, so when you look at this slide and you think about the women that are going to be in the house and you think about the things that we're going to be doing and all the parts and pieces that are going to be coming together, which again, there's a lot of details there, and I said I keep saying we're going to go back to it, and we will. I just want you to picture the woman that is here in behind these words, right? So like, I didn't say next slide, Jeanette.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
You have your why, right? And so you're here for a reason. And these women are here for a reason. Tell me what your why is. Why are you here? And don't say because you have to be, Jane. I heard that. Tell me something you learned about somebody else at your table. How about that? What do you want to like to share? And remember, I'm going to call on you because that's what I do if you don't share. Did anybody learn something interesting about why someone else is here today? Yes, Charlotte.
I'll start. They're going to do a small group, and they've had their fingers touched through children or friends, and they want to use or help Dew4Him in some of their outreach. She used to be in a prison ministry in New York, and that has touched her heart that we do prison ministry. And of course, Maria and I are here because we have to. No, but really, we're happy. Maria and I were just talking about how it's going to be good to get back together.
Yes. Amen. Well, I'm glad you're here. So welcome. And I'm here for the same reason, basically. I started with Dew4Him because I was one of these women. And again, I'm going to cry. I did not mean to cry. Gosh, I don't want to cry.
Tears are healing.
No, I don't, but I've done that. I don't need to do any more of that.
You're tired.
I am tired. I'm very tired. This has been the longest week ever. But this is me. This is my story, minus the incarceration. Never went there. But after my parents divorced, I lived in pretty much this kind of state where it was a pattern of poverty and abuse and neglect and all kinds of addictions. So I came to the end of myself, and there was Dew4Him. And here I am.
Amen.
And so it's come full circle. And believe it or not, through all of that, I have let's see, I have my I graduated summa cum laude, so straight A's. Number one in my class from East Carolina University with a undergraduate degree in K-12 elementary education, a minor degree in English, and master's in reading education, and then followed with a special education master's degree in certification, and then got nationally board certified as well. So all of that because I wanted to help and teach, and because I have a heart for children, because that's what happened to me. But these women, they didn't have what I had. And so when Jane told me her vision, I said, well, that's my vision too. I'm going to steal it. Because I want a place for women that have seen what I've seen and have experienced what I've experienced and have lived what I have lived to have a home and a sisterhood. Now you can go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I did not have that until I was 28 years old. And I did not start healing until then. So, and that's because that we do believe that biblical truth and self-awareness is more powerful than a cycle of self-destructive habits, and a strong community and a lifelong sisterhood of support will help women heal and flourish.
Amen.
So while I think love is important and hope is important, I believe that the Bible is the most powerful thing.
Amen.
Okay, so what are we going to do? What is biblical truth and what is self-awareness? Well, because I have all this background in data analysis and how to drive instruction and how to move people forward and how to grow them through that data, and I know how a person can grow and I can see the growth. We know how to go to the home and we know how to assess them, and we're going to create all these glorious diagnostics and universal screenings and benchmark data and individualized care plans and weekly progress monitoring and quarterly reports, and it's just going to be fantastic. And then we're going to create an exit plan for them so that they can flourish. So let's talk about what the flourishing woman is. Next slide. Through the Genesis process, they will have most likely 16 weeks of change groups or one-on-one counseling to uncover the root cause of addiction and find true healing and freedom to flourish. So the Genesis process is, and Jane, you want to talk about that a little bit? So I wasn't sure if you wanted to or not.
It's a good talk.
I'll
Yeah.
come back at the end. I'll come back and tell
Okay.
what that is.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to stop you in the rhythm.
Okay, well, so we'll talk more about what the Genesis process is. Next slide. Our home is going to operate on a holistic model. We'll have up to 8 residents. We will have live-in staff members, but the women are going to be guided by principles grounded in accountability, trust, and transformation. So essentially, they need to get their feet wet, and that's going to look very different for each woman. As you can see, every woman is going to handle that in a different way, and we're going to be here for them. So the idea is to grow and develop them into a healthy, vigorous way as a result of a favorable environment, and to graduate them so that they can be contributing members of society. So when they graduate, we will have a celebration, a ceremony, and then when they contribute, next slide, after 18 months within the residential program, next slide, they'll be ready for full-time employment and financial independence. That is our goal. But I just want you to keep in mind what Jane said, and you said 2007, but from 2007 or 2006 to 2022, that's 16 years of not having a home, which is over 100 women that we haven't been able to house. 120, really. And so it needs to stop. We need a house. So people are asking lots of questions about how they can help. Can they be a volunteer or a mentor? Do you have a candidate referral process? And how can my small group support this project? And so that's what we're going to talk about. All of our stations that we're going to send you to in just a minute are going to get into the nitty-gritty of all that, including the Genesis process, which is what will be one of our healing, counseling. And we'll be able to do this outside of the house, too. And then within the house. And so Jane's going to talk to you more about that in just a minute. To answer some of these questions, can I be a volunteer mentor? Yes. Do we have a candidate referral process? So the way that this is going to work is that we're going to partner with, like, NCCIW, for example, the Correctional Institute, and law enforcement, and we'll let them know that we are present, that we have a home, that we are available. And then through their assessment process, and through our assessment process, they will be vetted, and then we will determine whether or not they are candidates for our home and whether or not we can bring them in. How could my small group support this project? There's lots of different ways. We have short-term projects, and then we'll have long-term projects. Once the house gets rolling, there's lots of different things that we'll be doing, whether it's providing meals on a weekly basis, or helping us with renovations, things like that. So, next slide. Stop monkeying around, open up that iron grip on anything holding you back, and with open, grasped hands, come out and support our greenhouse.
Amen.